The Galactic Shopping Center buzzed with life, a cacophony of sounds blending into a symphony of commerce. The air was a heady mix of sizzling alien delicacies, floral scents from exotic plant shops, and the unmistakable tang of ozone from hovering drones. For Maria Santos, a pizza delivery driver, this was her second home. Every morning, she zipped through the multi-species crowd, delivering hot pies to hungry customers. Today, however, the vibrant energy felt different, almost electric in a way that set her on edge. As she maneuvered her delivery scooter through the throng, she could hear snippets of conversations layered with urgency. "System failure," an alien with luminous tentacles exclaimed, his voice rising above the rest. "The entire central delivery network is down." Maria could see the panic spreading like wildfire among the diverse shoppers. Their eyes darted anxiously between the malfunctioning holographic maps showcasing their favorite stores and the unresponsive kiosks meant to assist them. Maria parked her scooter near the entrance of a well-lit food court, the aroma of baked cheese and spices mingling in the air. She scanned the scene, her heart racing less from fear and more from the thrill of a challenge. The customers were restless, shuffling their feet and exchanging worried glances. Maria took a deep breath, the familiar scent of warm pizza dough grounding her. This was a routine she could handle, even when the universe threw chaos her way. "Hey, are you okay?" The voice jolted her back to reality. It belonged to a young alien girl with bright green skin, clutching a stuffed creature that looked like a cross between a rabbit and a giant mushroom. Her wide eyes reflected a mix of curiosity and concern. "Yeah, I'm fine," Maria reassured her with a smile. "Just checking things out. You look like you could use a slice." She pulled out a steaming box of pepperoni pizza, its cheesy aroma enticing. The girl's eyes widened. "Pizza, is it good?" "Best in the galaxy," Maria said, her tone light. "Want a slice?" With a shy nod, the girl accepted a slice, and for a moment, the panic seemed to fade as she took a bite, her expression transforming into one of delight. Maria's heart warmed at the sight, a reminder of why she loved her job, bringing joy to people, even when everything felt out of control. Suddenly, an intercom crackled overhead, interrupting their small bubble of comfort. "Attention shoppers, all delivery systems are down. Please remain calm while we troubleshoot the issue." The monotonous voice seemed more robotic than ever, and the tone of calmness felt forced. Murmurs spread through the crowd, rising to a crescendo of frustration and concern. Maria quickly finished her slice and tucked the pizza box under her arm. Maintaining her calm demeanor was crucial now. She spotted a cluster of anxious customers gathered around a malfunctioning information terminal, pixelated sparks crackling from the device. "Excuse me," she called, stepping forward. "Is anyone able to help?" A lanky alien with tentacles and wide, incredulous eyes turned to her. "What can we do? I can't even find my way to the bathroom." "Let's not panic," she said, exerting her natural authority, hoping to resonate with the crowd. "Everyone needs their orders fulfilled, right? If we work together, maybe we can figure this out without waiting for the system to come back online." Her words hung in the air, a tentative hope. There were nods and murmurs of agreement among the crowd. She began assigning folks to find the nearest stores that had staff on hand to take orders, using pen and paper, while others looked around for signs of the emergency protocols that might still be in effect. But as she orchestrated the chaos, a sinking feeling emerged. Maria couldn't shake the suspicion that this failure ran deeper than a simple glitch. It felt like something monumental was at play. She had seen too many high-stakes mishaps in her years of delivering pizzas to ignore the signs. Then, the crowd began to part, revealing a striking figure at the heart of the panic. Zektar, the alien systems technician, stood tall with an air of detached authority. His iridescent skin shimmered under the lights, and his multiple eyes flickered between the chaotic scene and the malfunctioning terminal. "Please, everyone, step back," he commanded, his voice firm yet smooth, the kind that demanded respect. "I am working to fix the systems." He approached a nearby terminal, fingers flying over the interface. "But we must remain calm." Maria couldn't help but admire his confidence. He was an expert in technology, someone who possessed the knowledge to rectify the situation. However, something in his demeanor struck her as aloof. The frantic shoppers behind him didn't seem to appreciate how calm he appeared amidst the swirling chaos. "Zektar," Maria raised her voice, catching his attention. "You need more help than just yourself. The delivery systems are down, and people are panicking. We need a collective solution, and we need it now." Surprised, he turned to her, his alien features revealing a flicker of intrigue. "You suggest we all pitch in?" "Exactly," she replied, fostering a sense of urgency without losing her cool. "If we ignore the panic and get everyone working together, we might stand a chance to restore some order. You can handle the technical aspects, allow me to manage the logistics." At that moment, the gravity of the situation hit both of them like a bolt of lightning. Maria was not just a pizza delivery driver, she was a mediator, a connector, and someone who could rally the troops when the chips were down. The galaxy was teetering on the edge of chaos, but if they worked together, they could bring it back to balance. Zektar regarded her for a moment, a mixture of surprise and admiration crossing his multifaceted gaze. Very well, Maria, let's do this. But know that the underlying issue may not just be a mere technical failure. The words left him hanging in the air, a foreboding statement that encouraged Maria to probe deeper. Whatever was happening, this wasn't just another glitch in the system, it was the beginning of something much larger. As the shoppers slowly began organizing into teams, Maria and Zektar exchanged determined looks. They were both aware, the stakes had escalated, and the galaxy was watching. Let's get to work, Maria said, her voice steady. The challenges ahead were daunting, but she could feel a spark of determination igniting within her. The chaos might have begun, but it was also the perfect opportunity for her to step into her true calling. Together, they were going to turn this disaster into a lesson for the entire galaxy. As the tension in the air thickened, Maria scanned the crowd, her instincts kicking into high gear. This was not just another delivery gone awry, it felt like a pivotal moment, a chance to bridge the gap between worlds, and she was determined to seize it. Amidst the growing chaos, a figure caught her eye, a tall alien with deep blue skin and a multitude of intricate patterns swirling across his arms. He appeared to be frantically tapping on a handheld device, his antennae twitching in agitation. With a deep breath, she made her way through the crowd, her heart pounding not just with the weight of responsibility but also with curiosity. "Hey!" Maria called, waving her hand to get his attention. "You seem like you know what's going on." He turned to her, his expression a mix of frustration and surprise. "I'm Zektar, a technician here. The systems are failing because the network is outdated and incompatible with the new protocols. I've been trying to troubleshoot it, but..." He sighed deeply, his eyes flickering with a hint of defeat. "It's a mess." Maria felt a spark of understanding ignite within her. "Outdated? Like, how old are we talking?" she asked, genuinely intrigued. "Older than I am," he replied, rubbing the back of his neck. The central delivery network was installed 2 decades ago. It was efficient at the time, but with the rapid advancements in technology, it's like trying to connect a horse to a spaceship. The upgrades haven't been implemented properly, and now the whole system is collapsing. "That's a long time for tech," Maria said. "But can't you just fix it?" Zektar raised an eyebrow. "Do you have any idea how complex these systems are? They're designed for multi-species operation, with different languages and protocols. It's not just a simple fix." Maria frowned, her mind racing. "But people are panicking. Isn't there some way we can make it easier for everyone? Like a temporary solution while you figure it out?" Zektar studied her for a moment, his expression softening slightly. "You really think humans can help with this? Most don't even understand the technology." Her heart thumped in her chest. Her initial instinct to act was now tinged with the weight of cultural misunderstanding. She had always believed that humans had their own form of ingenuity, one that transcended advanced technology. "I know how to keep people calm, and I can gather the crowd. Let's use what we have. Pen and paper can help, can't it?" Zektar hesitated, his antennae flickering thoughtfully. "It's unconventional, but it could work. If we can manage orders manually, at least we can reduce the chaos." "Exactly," Maria said, the enthusiasm in her voice rising. "While you work on the tech, I can get the orders down. Let's start with the nearest stores that can take them. How many do you think are still operating?" "Most of them should be," he replied, his tension easing slightly. "There are kiosks that can still accept orders, but they require manual entry. It would take a team effort to make it work." Maria nodded, her mind already racing with a plan. "Let's gather some volunteers from the crowd and assign people to each kiosk. We can make it a relay. I'll manage the delivery part while you handle the tech side. We can show everyone that this is just a small hiccup, not a catastrophe." As she spoke, Maria felt the weight of the moment settle over her. There was a distinct possibility that the aliens underestimated human problem-solving skills. She could feel the cultural bias in the air, a barrier that she was determined to break through, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever felt dismissed because of their background. Zektar took a deep breath, visibly reassessing the situation. "All right, I'll set up a makeshift tech station here. We can use my handheld device to sort the orders you compile. If I can isolate the issues while you gather the data, we might just pull this off." Maria flashed a confident smile. "Let's do it then." Together, they sprung into action. Maria rallied a small group of concerned shoppers, asking them to help manage the flow of orders. The buzz of her enthusiasm spread through the crowd as she delegated tasks, pairing individuals with stores they were familiar with. Zektar set up his device on a nearby table, adjusting its settings while answering questions from curious onlookers. As they worked, Maria caught glimpses of Zektar's expertise. He was methodical, approaching each problem with a precision that reflected his dedication. She couldn't help but admire him, the way he maneuvered through the complexities of the alien systems, translating tech lingo into something more comprehensible. "Okay, I'm ready," he called out after a few minutes, looking up from his device. "I can input orders here. What do we have?" Maria stepped up confidently, her voice raised to ensure everyone could hear. "Okay, team, let's start collecting orders. I need volunteers to take note of what people want from the stores that are still running. Zektar will enter them into his system." As the crowd started to settle into a rhythm, Maria's heart swelled with a mix of pride and determination. She was leading, her voice cutting through the earlier anxiety like a beacon. The energy shifted, it was no longer chaos but a collaborative effort. "Cheesy breadsticks and spicy wings from the pizzeria," a voice called out from the crowd, followed by another requesting a fruit smoothie from a nearby stall. Zektar began to type furiously, inputting the orders with surprising speed. "This is working," he said, an astonished grin creeping across his face. "I can't believe this is actually happening. See, sometimes a little human ingenuity goes a long way." Maria laughed, her heart racing with excitement. As they continued, something shifted in Zektar's demeanor. He seemed to relax, his earlier stress melting away as he engaged with the crowd, answering questions about the technology and explaining their approach to troubleshooting. Maria watched as he began to see the value in her perspective, not just as a delivery driver but as a problem solver in her own right. They worked seamlessly, the bond forming between them strengthening with each order collected and processed. For Maria, this wasn't just about pizza, it was about forging connections, breaking stereotypes, and demonstrating that collaboration transcended species and technology. "Let's keep this going," Maria said, catching Zektar's eye. "We can make this work." "Right," he replied, a newfound respect evident in his tone. "Let's show them what we can do together." As they continued to collaborate, Maria knew that they were not just fixing a system, they were building a bridge between their worlds, one order at a time. The galaxy was watching, and they were ready to prove that sometimes, the simplest solutions come from the most unexpected places. As Maria and Zektar began their makeshift operation, chaos still reigned in the Galactic Shopping Center. The rhythmic thrum of the overhead lights buzzed sporadically, mirroring the tension in the crowd. Maria took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus on the immediate task. "All right, Zektar, let's get this organized. How do we start?" Zektar tapped another command on his handheld device, his antennae twitching nervously. "I'll need to set up a virtual relay for our manual entries. We can assign volunteers to each kiosk based on their proximity. If you can find people willing to help, I can manage the data flow." "Got it." Maria nodded, already scanning the crowd for willing participants. "Hey, you," she called to a pair of anxious aliens nearby, their colorful skin shimmering in the bright lights. "We could use some help over here. If you can write, we need you at a kiosk." The aliens exchanged glances and nodded, shuffling over with a hesitant but curious expression. "What do we need to do?" one of them asked, a tentative smile breaking through. "We're going to take orders manually while Zektar fixes the tech issues. If you can jot down what people want, that would really help." Maria smiled back, her enthusiasm infectious. The two aliens nodded in agreement and hurried toward one of the nearby kiosks. As she organized more volunteers, Maria felt the initial fear begin to dissipate. People were stepping up, their apprehensions replaced by a sense of purpose. "This is it," she thought, her heart racing with determination. Zektar was now focused on his device, his fingers dancing over the screen with a mixture of frustration and concentration. "If I can isolate the problem areas, I might be able to reroute the traffic. But I need to know how many kiosks are still active," he murmured, glancing up at Maria. "Let me check," she said, quickly moving between the kiosks, noting which ones were functioning. The clatter of keyboards and the murmur of voices filled the air, blending with the distant sounds of panic. Each time she returned to Zektar with updates, he began to look less like a technician on the verge of a meltdown and more like a collaborator on a mission. "We have 5 kiosks operating," Maria reported, a spark of excitement in her voice. "We can handle this." "Good," Zektar replied, activating his device to display a map of the shopping center. "I can create a temporary network to manage all orders through these kiosks. It's not perfect, but it should alleviate the traffic jam. Let's set a system for processing deliveries." As they worked seamlessly, the tension began to ease in the center. Maria's confidence grew, and she found herself instinctively stepping into a leadership role. "All right, everyone," she called to the nearby crowd. "We're taking orders. If you need something, come to one of the kiosks, and we'll get it for you." A ripple of acknowledgement spread through the crowd as people began moving toward the kiosks. They were still anxious, but there was a sense of community forming and understanding that they were all in this together. In the midst of this newfound collaboration, Zektar suddenly paused, his expression shifting from focused determination to sudden alarm. "Maria, I'm detecting something strange in the system. There's a spike in activity that doesn't match any of our orders." "What do you mean?" Maria asked, her heart racing again. "Is it a glitch?" "It looks more like interference," Zektar replied, his voice low and filled with concern. "It's as if someone is trying to sabotage the system from within." Maria's stomach twisted at the implication. "But why would anyone do that?" "I think it's linked to the recent tensions between our species," he replied. "Some factions believe that allowing humans to participate in our technology will disrupt our way of life. This could be a reaction to that." "Great. Just what we need, more complications," Maria muttered, feeling the weight of the situation settle over her. "So what do? We need to identify the source of the interference and cut it off before it escalates," Zektar said, his determination returning. "If we can trace it back, we can expose whoever is behind this." "Okay, let's do it," Maria replied, fueled by a mix of adrenaline and purpose. "But how do we find it?" Zektar thought for a moment, then pointed to a series of flashing indicators on his device. "I can trace the signal, but I'll need you to coordinate with the volunteers. We must keep the orders flowing while I isolate the interference. If we can maintain normal operations, we can pinpoint the source." "Got it," Maria nodded, her mind racing. "I'll talk to everyone and keep them calm. Just focus on your tech stuff. We can do this together." As they both threw themselves into the task, Maria felt a growing bond with Zektar. They were two individuals from vastly different worlds, united in their determination to fix a monumental problem. Each time she returned to Zektar with updates or when he called out for more help, there was an unspoken understanding developing between them, a respect that crossed the barriers of their cultures. Minutes turned into what felt like hours as they worked tirelessly. The chaos outside remained, but there was a flicker of hope igniting within the shopping center. Maria saw the faces of the aliens at the kiosks, their frowns replaced with determination as they jotted down orders. Suddenly, Zektar's voice cut through the noise. "I've isolated the interference," he shouted, his antennae stiffening with concentration. "It's coming from a nearby kiosk, one that isn't responding to our commands." "What? Which one?" Maria asked, her heart racing. "Number 3, Zektar replied, urgently typing commands. "We need to shut it down before it causes more damage." "On it." Maria dashed toward the kiosk, her mind racing. They were no longer just trying to maintain order, they were now on a quest for the truth, a mission that no one could have anticipated when the day began. As she reached the kiosk, she felt the weight of the moment settle over her. The stakes were higher than ever, and failure was not an option. With each step she took, her confidence surged. They were about to uncover something far greater than a malfunctioning system. They were on the brink of exposing a conspiracy that could change the dynamics between species forever. "Let's do this," Maria whispered to herself, ready to take on whatever came next. As Maria took a moment to catch her breath, the chaos of the Galactic shopping center swirled around her like a tempest. The clattering of keyboards and the buzz of anxious voices created a dissonant symphony. It was strange how quickly the environment had shifted from the mundane to the extraordinary. With each passing minute, the stakes grew, but so did her resolve. "Zektar," she called over the noise, "we need a plan to deal with this interference. If someone is sabotaging the system, we can't let them succeed." Zektar, still leaning over his device, nodded, his focus unwavering. "Right. If we can identify the source of the interference, we might be able to counteract it. However, I'll need more data to pinpoint its location." He glanced up, his antennae perked. "Can you keep the volunteers organized while I dig deeper?" "Absolutely," Maria replied, heart pounding with adrenaline. She turned her attention back to the crowd, where an eclectic mix of shoppers, some alien, some human, milled about. "Okay, everyone, we need to streamline our process. If you're at a kiosk, keep taking orders. If you're waiting, please be patient. We're working hard to fix this." As the crowd adjusted to her words, Maria spotted a small group of onlookers, their faces twisted in confusion. She strode over, her confidence surging. "Hey, you all look like you could help. Are you good with tools? We need someone to check the kiosks for physical damage. Zektar's technology might be failing, but we can still manage things manually while we figure this out." One alien, a squat creature with short limbs and large, expressive eyes, stepped forward. "I know a thing or two about fixing machines. My name is Blip." He extended a hand, which Maria shook firmly. "Great, Blip. Can you check the kiosks for any physical blockages or issues? Just let us know what you find." Blip nodded enthusiastically and dashed off to the nearest kiosk. Maria felt a rush of hope. Each small victory felt monumental in the swirling chaos. Meanwhile, Zektar had his eyes glued to the screen of his handheld device. "The interference is coming from multiple locations," he muttered, brow furrowed in concentration. "It's almost as if someone is using a device to disrupt our systems deliberately." "Any idea who it might be?" Maria asked, glancing over at him. His expression was a mixture of frustration and determination, and she could see the wheels turning in his mind. "It could be anyone. Tensions have been high between our species recently. Some groups might see this as a chance to prove their point," Zektar replied, his voice low. "If we can gather enough evidence, we might identify and confront whoever is behind this." "There's no time for that right now," Maria said, her mind racing. "We need to stabilize the situation first. Let's focus on getting the orders out and keeping everyone calm. We can investigate later." Zektar looked up, surprise flickering across his features. "You're right. I was too focused on the tech aspects." He paused for a moment, his antennae twitching in thought. "If we can stabilize the kiosks, we might be able to buy ourselves time to figure out the sabotage. Your street smarts are proving invaluable." Maria felt a swell of pride at his acknowledgement. "Thanks, Zektar. Let's get back to work." Just then, Blip returned, panting slightly. "All clear. The kiosks are functioning fine. I checked for any obstructions, but I found nothing unusual." "Good work, Blip," Maria exclaimed, feeling the momentum building. "Zektar, can you set up a broadcast on the working kiosks to keep people informed? We need to let them know we're still processing orders manually." Zektar nodded, his fingers flying across the screen. "Yes, I can do that. If we clarify the situation, it should help reduce the anxiety." As he worked, Maria immersed herself in the crowd, encouraging volunteers and calming anxious patrons. "Remember, everyone, we're all in this together. Your patience is appreciated." She felt a bond forming among the shoppers, a collective determination to overcome the crisis. With Zektar's broadcast message now live, the atmosphere began to shift. The crowd's apprehension eased as they understood the situation better. Maria could see the relief wash over their faces, and she felt a sense of accomplishment swell within her. Suddenly, Zektar called out, "Maria, I'm detecting a surge in data activity again. It's coming from the same locations as before. We need a way to track down the source. Can you identify any specific signals or patterns?" Maria asked, her heart racing. "Not yet, but if we could set up a manual monitoring system, it might help." Zektar's brow furrowed deeper, a glimmer of desperation surfacing. "However, we would need someone to stay back and monitor the kiosks while we investigate." Maria weighed her options. The chaotic atmosphere had started to settle somewhat, but it was still volatile. "I'll stay," she volunteered without a second thought. "I know these orders by heart, and I'll keep things moving here." Zektar hesitated. "Are you sure? It could be dangerous. If the sabotage escalates, you might be at risk." "I can handle it," she replied, a steely determination in her voice. "I've dealt with worse in the city. Besides, you need to figure out where this interference is coming from." "I'll be fine here, and you'll need someone you trust." Zektar's expression softened, and he nodded, though concern lingered in his eyes. "Very well. I trust you, Maria. Let's move quickly." As they prepared for the next phase, Maria felt a surge of adrenaline. She had stepped into a role that was far beyond her usual life as a pizza delivery driver. This was different. This was about protecting the very fabric of their society. Once Zektar departed, Maria took a deep breath and focused on the kiosks again. She could do this. She could keep the situation under control for as long as necessary. As the minutes dragged on, she felt the weight of the situation pressing down, but she pushed it aside. "All right, folks, let's keep this going," she called out, her voice steady. "We're moving quickly, so keep your orders coming." In that moment, she realized the power of human ingenuity in the face of adversity. They might be outmatched technologically, but her instincts, her creativity, and her willingness to lead would help bridge the gap. And as she processed the orders, a new sense of purpose filled her. Whatever chaos lay ahead, she was ready to face it head-on. With each order she filled, she was not just delivering food, she was delivering hope. And as she glanced at the emptying queue, she felt the first flickers of victory emerging from the chaos. As Maria maneuvered through the thrumming crowd, a new layer of tension settled over her. The urgency in Zektar's voice had ignited a fire within her, and now, with the chaos simmering just beneath the surface, she felt the weight of her responsibility bearing down. She glanced back at Zektar, who was still immersed in his handheld device, fingers dancing across the screen as if he were conducting an orchestra. "Zektar," she called, her voice rising above the din. "Any luck isolating the source of the interference?" He looked up, his brow knitted in concentration. "I'm seeing multiple signatures of disruption," he replied, his antennae twitching. "It's almost as if someone is deliberately targeting our systems from various locations within the center. It's clever, but it's also reckless." That's not just sabotage, that's a statement, Maria said, her heart racing. We need to figure out who's behind this. Before Zektar could respond, Blip returned, a look of determination etched on his face. I've checked all the kiosks. Everything is operational. But there's a buzzing noise coming from the maintenance area. The maintenance area? Maria echoed, alarm bells ringing in her head. That's where they might be hiding. We should check it out. Indeed, Zektar agreed, his eyes gleaming with newfound resolve. It could lead us to whoever is responsible. As they made their way toward the maintenance area, Maria felt the urgency in the air shift. The crowd's anxiety had morphed into something darker, and whispers began to ripple through the throngs of shoppers. What's happening? Why can't they fix it? Maybe they can't handle it. Stay focused, everyone, Maria shouted, trying to drown out the negativity. We're all in this together. Just a little longer. They reached the entrance to the maintenance area, a narrow corridor lined with flickering fluorescent lights and the faint scent of oil and metal. Maria pushed the door open, revealing a dimly lit space cluttered with tools and machinery. The buzzing sound was louder now, a persistent hum resonating through the air. Let's split up, she suggested. Zektar, can you scan for any signals? Blip, check the power conduits. I'll see if I can find the source of that noise. As they dispersed, Maria felt her heart race. She navigated through the maze of equipment, her eyes scanning for anything unusual. The hum grew louder, pulsating like a heartbeat. She followed it, her instincts guiding her until she reached a small room at the back, a maintenance closet. Inside, she found a cluster of wires and devices, all connected to a strange, pulsating orb. The orb glowed with an ominous hue, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Maria's blood ran cold as she realized what it was, a disruption device, engineered to sabotage the systems of the Galactic Shopping Center. Zektar, she yelled, her voice echoing in the small space. I found something. He rushed in, his eyes widening at the sight. This is it, the source of the interference. Blip entered next, his brows furrowing as he took in the scene. What is that? It's a device designed to disrupt operations across the center, Zektar explained, crouching down to examine it. If it continues to function, chaos will ensue. But we need to deactivate it. Maria knelt beside Zektar, her mind racing. How do we do that? It looks complicated. Zektar's fingers hovered over the controls. I can recalibrate the device, but I'll need you to provide some support. If the sabotage is indeed rooted in prejudice against humans, then perhaps we can use that to our advantage. Advantage? Blip asked, tilting his head. Humans have an innate resilience, a creativity that often baffles more technologically advanced species, Zektar explained. If we can leverage this idea, we might turn the tables on our saboteurs. Right, Maria said, adrenaline surging through her. We need to send a message, a clear one. Let's show them that unity is stronger than division. As Zektar worked on the device, Maria and Blip scoured the room for anything they could use. They found an old transmitter, dusty but functional. With Zektar's guidance, they quickly set it up. Ready? Zektar asked, his fingers flying across the device's interface. Ready, Maria echoed, her heart pounding with anticipation. Zektar initiated the sequence, and the room filled with the sound of crackling energy. Now, Maria, speak into the transmitter. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, her voice steady. Attention, everyone at the Galactic Shopping Center. We are aware of the sabotage attempt and are taking steps to rectify the situation. Together, we can overcome this challenge. Your patience and support are essential. As her words resonated through the shopping center, the buzzing noise began to fade, replaced by a wave of murmurs. Maria felt the atmosphere shift. It's working, Blip exclaimed, eyes wide. But before they could celebrate, they heard footsteps approaching from the hallway. Quick, hide, Zektar whispered urgently. They ducked behind a stack of crates just as the door swung open, revealing a group of disgruntled aliens. Maria's heart raced as they exchanged hushed whispers, their expressions a mix of frustration and determination. They think they can just take over our space, one of them hissed. We'll show them what happens when they meddle in our affairs. Maria's breath hitched. This was it, the heart of the sabotage. They were not just trying to disrupt the systems, they were aiming to send a message to the entire galaxy. Zektar's expression hardened. We need to confront them. They're operating under a misconception about humans. I agree, Maria said, her resolve hardening, but we need to do it carefully. We can't let them escalate things further. As the aliens began to argue amongst themselves, Maria and Zektar exchanged a determined glance. This was more than just a technological failure, it was a moment to bridge the divide, to confront prejudice head-on. Let's do this, Maria whispered. With newfound courage, they stepped out from their hiding spot, ready to face the saboteurs and the deeper issues that lay beneath the surface. The stakes had never been higher, but Maria could feel the tide turning. It was time for a reckoning. As the aliens turned to face them, the tension in the air crackled like static. Maria's heart raced, but she stood tall. "We need to talk," she said firmly, her voice unwavering. The room fell silent, and for a moment, it felt as if the entire galaxy was holding its breath. As Maria steeled herself in the dimly lit maintenance room, the air felt charged, electric with the weight of their discovery. She could feel Zektar's presence beside her, his determination palpable. "We have to act fast," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling outside. "If we can find the saboteurs, we can confront them directly. Show them how their actions threaten not only the systems here but the lives of everyone in this center." Zektar nodded, adjusting the calibration settings on the disruption device. "I'll do my best to disable the device, but if they're determined to continue, we might need to negotiate." I can sense the fear motivating them. Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. "Then let's be prepared for anything." She turned to Blip, who had been quietly observing. "Are you ready to back us up if things get tense?" "Absolutely," Blip replied, his eyes wide with excitement. "I might even have a few tricks of my own." "Then let's go," Maria said, taking a deep breath. She led the way out of the maintenance area, her mind racing with possibilities. As they stepped back into the bustling center, the noise hit them like a wave. Shoppers were still anxious, their whispers growing louder, worry dripping into the atmosphere like rain. "How do we find them?" Blip asked, his voice barely cutting through the cacophony. Zektar tapped his device, his antennae twitching. "I'm scanning for disturbances in the signal. If they're still broadcasting interference, we should be able to trace it back to their location." Maria focused on the crowd, her eyes darting back and forth. She needed to trust her instincts. "Keep an eye out for anyone acting suspiciously," she instructed, scanning for potential threats among the shoppers. "They might be hiding in plain sight." As they moved through the throng, Zektar's device emitted a series of beeps, each one more urgent than the last. "I'm getting a stronger signal to the left," he said, pointing toward a cluster of kiosks. "That way." They made their way toward the kiosks, where the sounds of excited chatter mingled with the underlying tension. As they approached, Maria noticed a small group of aliens huddled together, their expressions a mixture of anger and determination. "Could they be the ones?" Blip whispered, his voice barely audible. "They look like they're planning something," Maria replied, her heart racing. "Let's approach cautiously. We don't want to provoke them." As they stepped closer, the group turned their attention, their eyes narrowing as they took in Maria and her companions. One of them, a tall creature with iridescent skin and sharp features, stepped forward. "What do you want?" he demanded, his tone laced with suspicion. "We're here to talk," Maria said, her voice firm but calm. "We know about the disruption device. It's causing chaos not only for us but for everyone here." The creature scoffed, crossing his arms. "And why should we care about your problems? You humans have never cared for our kind. Why should we help you?" "Because this isn't just about us versus you," Maria replied, her voice rising slightly. "We're all part of this community. If we don't work together, we'll all suffer. The chaos you're causing will only lead to more fear and division." Zektar stepped forward, his antennae raised in a gesture of peace. "We understand your anger, but this isn't the solution. We can work together to address your grievances without resorting to sabotage. We can find a way to communicate better." The group exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering across their faces. Maria could sense their hesitation. "What if we could establish a communication line? A way for us to understand your concerns better," she suggested, her mind racing with ideas. A murmur rippled through the group, and the tall creature hesitated. "Why should we trust you? How do we know you won't just ignore us like before?" "Because we want to prove that we can be allies," Maria insisted, her voice unwavering. "Let's set up a meeting. Just us. No tech involved. Just conversation. We want to hear your side and ensure that your voices are heard." The creature's expression softened slightly, and Maria seized the moment. "You've shown your strength by standing up for yourselves. Let's channel that strength into something positive. Together, we can create real change." The tension in the air began to shift as the group members exchanged glances, their anger slowly fading. "Fine," the tall creature said finally. "But if you betray our trust, you'll regret it." "I promise," Maria replied, her heart racing with a mix of relief and determination. "We'll set up a meeting right away." Zektar smiled, a spark of hope in his eyes. "This is a step in the right direction. Together, we can dismantle the barriers that divide us." As the group agreed, Maria felt a surge of pride. She had taken charge in a moment of crisis, and although the path ahead would be challenging, she was ready to lead. "Let's get back to the maintenance area," Maria said, her voice filled with resolve. "We need to ensure that disruption device is fully disabled before it causes any more damage." As they made their way back, Maria couldn't help but reflect on the power of connection, how mutual respect and understanding could overcome prejudice and fear. They were headed toward a future where cooperation reigned, and she was determined to be at the forefront, paving the way for a brighter tomorrow. Together, we can fix this, she said, glancing back at Zektar and Blip. Let's show them that unity is stronger than division. As they entered the maintenance area again, the weight of their mission settled over them. They were not just fighting against a disruption device, they were fighting for a new way of life, one where differences were celebrated and collaboration was the norm. This is just the beginning, Maria said, her voice filled with conviction. Let's show everyone what we can achieve when we work together. And with that, the team set to work, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united in their purpose. As the tension in the air thickened, Maria felt the weight of their mission bearing down on her. The alien group before them, still skeptical but visibly wavering, looked ready to explode or to listen. Blip stood slightly behind them, eyes darting back and forth, sensing the urgency of the moment. The crowd around them buzzed with nervous energy, a living entity that seemed to react to the charged atmosphere. We know you're angry, Maria continued, her voice steady, but her heart pounded in her chest. But sabotage isn't the answer. We can help each other. Tell us what you need. The tall alien with iridescent skin, who had been the most vocal, stepped forward again. You humans think you know everything. You've had your way for too long. We've been pushed aside. Why would we trust you now? Zektar chimed in, his voice calm yet firm. Because change is possible. We can create a system that respects both our needs, but we need your input to make it work. What can we do to make things right? A heavy silence fell over the small group, tension palpable in the air. Maria watched as the alien's eyes narrowed, as if weighing the words. She sensed a flicker of doubt in him, a crack in the armor of his hostility, urging her on. Let's start with a simple agreement, she proposed, her gaze sweeping across the faces before her. We can set up a communication line, a way for you to voice your concerns directly, without going through back channels or sabotage. A way to make sure your issues are addressed with urgency. What do you think? The alien's expression softened just a fraction, but he remained guarded. And what if you ignore us again? That's a risk we'll take together, Zektar interjected. If this fails, we fail as a community. But if it works, we all benefit. We can show the others that it's possible to collaborate, to find common ground. One of the other aliens, a smaller creature with vibrant green skin, spoke up. Our concerns are not just about being heard. We need tangible changes. Access to better resources, fair representation in decision-making. How can we trust you'll keep your word? Maria took a deep breath, feeling the urgency of the moment. We're all in this together. I know I'm just a pizza delivery driver, but I care about my community. If I can bring back the voices of your people, we can demand better together. The group exchanged wary glances, and Maria sensed a shift. The air felt lighter, as if the weight of their grievances was beginning to lift. We want to believe you, the tall alien said slowly, but words are easy, actions speak louder. Then let's act, Zektar replied, determination in his eyes. Let's create a prototype for the communication system using both human and alien technologies. It will be a testament to our cooperation. Maria nodded, excitement bubbling up as ideas began to flow. We can set up a central hub here in the Galactic Shopping Center. It can be a physical space for discussions, a way to bring everyone together. We'll demonstrate that this is more than just talk. Blip, who had been quietly absorbing everything, chimed in. I can help with the tech side. I've been working on some interfaces that could integrate alien tech into our systems. It could be simple and effective. The tall alien looked thoughtful, his brow furrowing. What if we could establish a communication line that allows us to monitor the progress of our concerns too? We need to ensure nothing falls through the cracks again. That's brilliant, Maria exclaimed, her heart racing. We can build a feedback loop into the system. You'll have a direct line to us, and we'll have a way to keep track of how things are progressing. As the discussion unfolded, Maria felt a surge of hope. They were on the cusp of something monumental, transforming the threats and sabotage into a collaborative partnership. But she knew they needed to act quickly before tensions flared again. Let's put this plan into motion, Zektar urged, his antennae quivering with excitement. We can start drafting the outline for the system right now. If we can present something tangible, it will show everyone that we're serious. The group began to buzz with energy, exchanging ideas and brainstorming solutions. Maria felt the camaraderie building, the barriers between species starting to dissolve. Zektar, once a skeptical technician, now stood shoulder to shoulder with her, a collaborative partner in this venture. Maybe we can meet again tonight to finalize the details, Maria suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. That way, we can present it to the community tomorrow. The tall alien nodded slowly, a hint of a smile creeping onto his features. All right, we'll meet tonight. But remember, this is just the beginning. We'll hold you to your word. As they parted ways, Maria felt energized. The weight of their discovery had transformed into a renewed sense of purpose. They could rebuild trust, create a bridge between their worlds. With Zektar and Blip by her side, Maria felt a newfound strength. They headed back to the maintenance area, and the chaos outside began to feel more manageable. She could see the first rays of hope breaking through the storm clouds of uncertainty. As they approached the maintenance room, Zektar turned to her, his expression reflecting the gravity of the moment. "You know, Maria, I didn't believe we could get this far, but you've shown me that collaboration is possible." Maria smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "We're just getting started, Zektar. Together, we can show the galaxy what's possible when we unite." As they stepped into the room, the devices around them flickered with life, a tangible representation of their progress. The air felt lighter, filled with the promise of change. Tonight would mark a new chapter, one where they would not only restore the delivery system but also build a stronger community together. And in doing so, they would pave the way for a brighter future within the Galactic Shopping Center, one powered by cooperation and understanding. As the initial buzz of uncertainty faded, the atmosphere in the Galactic Shopping Center shifted dramatically. Maria stood at the forefront of a new beginning, the communication system they had established buzzing with activity. Screens flickered to life, and the voices of both humans and aliens began to blend into a harmonious dialogue, echoing through the vast atrium. It was a remarkable sight. Tensions that had simmered for too long were slowly melting away, replaced by a collective determination to move forward. "Look," Zektar said, gesturing toward the main hub, where a throng of both species congregated, sharing their concerns and ideas. "It's working. They're engaging." Maria felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was one thing to hope for change, but witnessing it unfold was something entirely different. "I never expected it to happen this fast," she admitted, glancing at Zektar, whose blue skin glimmered under the bright lights. "We really did it." Just then, a small group of children, a mix of humans and aliens, darted past them, laughter ringing out like music. A human boy held hands with a green-skinned alien girl, their faces lit up with joy. Maria smiled, realizing that the ripple effects of their efforts were now touching even the youngest members of both communities. "Maria, Zektar!" Blip's voice broke through her reverie. The little alien's eyes were wide with excitement as he rushed toward them, a tablet in his hands. "You've got to see this." "What is it?" Maria asked, curiosity piqued. Blip thrust the tablet toward them, and they both leaned in to read the latest communications. "There are proposals coming in from both sides. They're suggesting joint community events, shared resources, even cultural exchanges," he explained, enthusiasm bubbling over. Zektar nodded, his antennae twitching with interest. "This is what we wanted, a platform for collaboration. But we need to ensure that this momentum doesn't fizzle out. We have to keep the dialogue open." Maria felt a sense of urgency wash over her. "We need to organize a big meeting, a celebration of sorts, to solidify these ideas, to make sure everyone feels included." Blip's eyes sparkled. "And I can help with the tech setup. If we can stream it live, we can reach even those who couldn't make it here." As plans began to take shape, Maria felt the weight of their success. Her heart raced with the realization that their small group had ignited a movement. "We can show everyone that real change is possible," she said, her voice steady. "This isn't just about us anymore, it's about building a legacy." Hours turned into days as preparations for the gathering unfolded. The excitement in the Galactic Shopping Center was palpable, the air buzzed with anticipation. Banners were hung, and booths were set up, showcasing the diverse cultures represented within their community. Maria had never seen the shopping center so vibrant, so alive. On the day of the event, Maria stood near the central hub, her heart pounding with anticipation. Zektar was at her side, observing the mingling crowds with pride. Humans and aliens alike filled the area, exchanging stories and ideas, laughter punctuating the air. It was, in many ways, a beautiful blend of worlds that had once felt so distant. "Can you believe this?" Zektar asked, his eyes sparkling. "Just weeks ago, we were on the brink of chaos, and now," Maria nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Now, we're building something together." She turned her gaze to the crowd, spotting the tall alien with iridescent skin from their initial meeting. He was engaging with a group of human teenagers, sharing stories, laughter bridging the gap that had once seemed insurmountable. "This is what it's all about," Maria said, her heart swelling with hope. "Unity through understanding." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the shopping center, Maria stepped up to the makeshift stage. The crowd turned their attention to her, a mix of faces, hopeful, anxious, and expectant. She cleared her throat, her voice steady as she addressed the gathering. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her heart racing. "What we've accomplished over these past few weeks is nothing short of extraordinary. When we started this journey, we faced skepticism, anger, and fear. But look around you, this is our future. This gathering is proof that we can set aside our differences and work together for a better tomorrow." The crowd erupted in applause, and Maria felt her spirit lift. "We've created a communication platform that allows us to voice our concerns, to share our dreams. But this is just the beginning. It's up to each of us to continue this dialogue and to ensure that every voice is heard." Zektar stepped up beside her, the light reflecting off his unique skin. "Together, we can build a community that respects all beings, that celebrates our differences rather than fearing them. Let's create a legacy for generations to come." As Maria looked out over the crowd, she saw faces filled with hope and determination. She realized that their success had sparked something greater, a movement towards unity that transcended species and cultures. It was a testament to the power of everyday heroes working together, forging a path toward a brighter future. The cheers that erupted from the crowd resonated deep within her. This was not just a victory for her and Zektar, it was a victory for everyone who had ever felt overlooked or marginalized. They had proven that change was possible, that the smallest actions could lead to monumental shifts. As celebrations filled the air, Maria knew that they had not only changed the course of their community but had also laid the groundwork for interspecies relations across the galaxy. It was a moment of triumph, but also a reminder that the real work was just beginning. As the festivities continued, Maria felt a sense of peace wash over her. The journey had been fraught with challenges, but in the end, they had emerged stronger than ever. The galaxy was learning why staying calm amidst chaos could lead to extraordinary outcomes, and she was ready to embrace whatever the future held. With the promise of unity lingering in the air, Maria took a deep breath, her heart full of hope. The next chapter of their story was just beginning, and she was ready to face it head-on. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the Galactic Shopping Center, Maria stepped up to the makeshift stage, her heart pounding with anticipation. The crowd turned their eager faces toward her, a sea of curious eyes reflecting the hope that had blossomed in recent weeks. This was a moment of transformation, not just for her but for everyone who had fought to bridge the divide between their worlds. "Thank you all for being here today," Maria began, her voice steady, reverberating through the gathering. "What we are witnessing is not just a celebration of our cultures, but a testament to what happens when we choose to listen, to understand, and to collaborate." She paused, taking a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the diverse crowd. "We've faced chaos, anger, and misunderstanding, but amidst that, we found a way to connect." A ripple of applause surged through the crowd, and Maria felt a surge of energy. Zektar stood nearby, his blue skin shimmering under the lights, nodding in support. She could see the pride in his eyes, a reflection of their shared journey over the past weeks. They had transformed from strangers into partners, united by a cause that transcended their differences. "Today, we are not just celebrating our uniqueness," she continued, "but our shared humanity and the bonds we've forged. We've created a platform for collaboration, where every voice matters, where every idea is valued." Her heart swelled with hope as she recalled the initial spark that had ignited their efforts, an ordinary pizza delivery that had turned into an extraordinary mission. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Maria's smile widened. She felt the weight of their collective journey, the struggles, the misunderstandings, and ultimately, the triumphs. "But it doesn't end here," she declared, her voice rising with passion. "We must keep this momentum going. We need to ensure that our communication thrives beyond this moment." Zektar stepped forward, his antennae twitching as he addressed the crowd. "I echo Maria's sentiments. This is only the beginning. We are proposing a new policy for the Galactic Shopping Center that promotes interspecies cooperation and cultural exchanges." The crowd murmured in excitement, and Maria caught a glimpse of Blip, his eyes wide with anticipation. A young alien in the front row raised a hand. "What will that mean for us? Will we get to share our traditions?" "Absolutely," Zektar replied, his tone encouraging. "This policy will create opportunities for all of us to come together through festivals, workshops, and community projects. We want to celebrate our differences while finding common ground." Maria felt a sense of warmth envelop her at the thought of the future they could build together. She could already envision shared cooking classes, where humans and aliens would learn from each other's cuisines, or art exhibitions showcasing the unique perspectives of both species. "Imagine the stories we can tell," she said, excitement bubbling in her voice. "Imagine the friendships we can forge." As the crowd erupted in applause once more, Maria took a step back, allowing herself to soak in the moment. They had all come so far, and it was clear that the seeds of understanding had taken root. The children she had seen earlier, laughing and playing, were a reminder of the innocent joy that could emerge when barriers were dismantled. But amid the celebration, Maria felt a pang of humility. "I want to acknowledge that our journey hasn't been easy," she continued, her voice softening. "There were moments of frustration and doubt. We have all felt overlooked at times, whether human or alien, but it's through those struggles that we've discovered the power of empathy." Zektar nodded in agreement, his expression serious. We learned that staying calm in the face of chaos can lead to extraordinary outcomes. It is not just about fixing problems, it's about understanding one another. A low murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Maria felt a sense of unity wash over her. They were all in this together, and the realization brought tears to her eyes. Let's continue to listen to each other, to share our stories, and to learn from one another, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Because it's in those everyday actions that we can truly change the galaxy. As she stepped down from the stage, the crowd surged forward, eager to share their thoughts and ideas. Maria found herself enveloped in hugs and handshakes, laughter echoing around her. She spotted the tall alien from their initial meeting, now engaged in a lively discussion with a group of human teenagers. The sight filled her with joy. This was the future she had envisioned. Blip approached her, his face beaming. You did it, Maria. You brought everyone together. Maria knelt down to his level, placing a hand on his shoulder. We did it, Blip. All of us. You played a huge role in this. As they shared a moment of triumph, Zektar joined them, his presence radiating warmth. We have much work ahead of us, but with this foundation, I am confident we can create lasting change. Together, they watched as the Galactic Shopping Center transformed into a vibrant hub of activity, filled with laughter and collaboration. Maria reflected on the path that had brought her here, from a simple pizza delivery to a pivotal role in bridging worlds. Who would have thought, she mused, her heart light. A pizza delivery could change the galaxy. Sometimes, it's the smallest actions that lead to the biggest transformations, Zektar replied, a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. As the night wore on, the festivities continued, and Maria felt a sense of peace settle within her. They had not only forged a new policy, they had built a community. And in that moment, she knew that their journey was just beginning. The galaxy had learned why staying calm amidst chaos mattered, and she was ready to embrace whatever the future held. With hope in her heart and her friends by her side, Maria stepped into the future, ready to create a legacy of unity and understanding that would resonate across the stars.